Hey, everybody. You're listening to We Still Like You, the embarrassing storytelling show. Hey, Mom.
Hey, babe.
How are you?
When I was maybe 5 or 6, I was at Thanksgiving, and I remember overhearing my mom telling my aunt that she couldn't wait until I finally started dating so that she could show my future date the baby book. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember. I hope I didn't mean it sarcastically. I hope I meant it seriously, like your girlfriend would be interested in this stuff.
Oh, no, you didn't mean it that way.
I meant it embarrassingly, right? To embarrass you.
Can you imagine what information in that baby book you might have kept track of that might have been embarrassing or shameful if you were to share it to someone I was interested in?
Oh, keeping track of your poo and pee?
Bingo. What I remember very vividly is you telling Aunt Penny that you had kept meticulous track of the consistency and duration and frequency and color of my poop for the first couple weeks of my life. And you were planning on reading it to my future girlfriend.
I can't believe I said that.
And I resolved on that day that any relationship that I would ever had would need to be kept secret. Okay, so now that we've got that, what I was wondering is, could you find access to that baby? But like, do you actually have it on hand?
Probably, yes.
All right, when you get home, if you have some time, do you think you
I could read it to you?
I would like to know what my poop was on the first Wednesday after I was born.
You're too much.
Yeah. Why else do you keep this information? As we've learned from the movies, it's definitely uncomfortable meeting your date's family for the first time, but it can be just as nerve-wracking to have them meet yours. It's this window into all this stuff you may not want them to see. You know, who you are and where you came from and how you pooped. Speaking of which...
Hey, so I found the little red book where I recorded that stuff. 8 o'clock on November 3rd, one yellow poo in the morning, and a... Well, I remember the yellow poo thing. Why are you laughing? Are you recording me?
Stupid. Of course I'm recording you.
Oh, my God.
Growing up, Melissa was really close to her cousin Bobo. But as they got older and Melissa started dating, she started finding her cousin's behavior more and more embarrassing. From Louisville, comedian Melissa Doran.
I grew up in a town called East Newark, New Jersey, right? And East Newark was a borough. It was 6 blocks. That was it, 6 blocks. And we were poor, but we didn't know we were poor. Because right next to us was a town called Newark, New Jersey. And they were really fucking poor. You know what I mean? So like, we had shoes. We weren't poor. That's how poor Newark was. So our borough, East Newark, we thought we were highfalutin shit. And I grew up there till I was 14 years old, yo. I grew up in an Irish family. All Catholic Irish. So there's like 10 million the fuck of us. You know what I mean? My grandmother had kids till she was 60. My aunts were like my sisters and brothers, my aunts and uncles. So we grew up in a pretty close-knit situation, right? And I had a cousin. My favorite cousin was my cousin Bobo. My cousin Bobo was 2 years younger than me, and he just thought I was the coolest shit ever, and that shit was cool. You know what I mean? When you're a kid and he thinks you're a hero, that shit was easy. We were fun, too. Like, when you're poor and you're growing up in a city, there's no fucking boundaries. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if one of us got a bazooka gum, and we were chewing that bazooka gum on, like, the porch stoop, the other kids were like, yo, give me half. And you know what kids do in a poor neighborhood with the bazooka gum? You fucking take it from your mouth, and you take it from your mouth, and you half it, and you give it to your cousin, and he puts it in his mouth, and he fucking chews it. I mean, we were poor. We weren't like taking baths with our 12-year-old brothers poor. You know what I mean? But we were... I don't think it's shame-free. That turned me on, and I think that means something about me. This whole show's fucked me up in all kinds of ways. So we would chew gum, and he'd be like, give me half that gum. And we would give each other, we didn't even think about it, you know what I'm saying? Like, here's half my fucking bazooka gum, right? And it doesn't taste like grape bazooka anymore, right? It tastes like my fucking spit. My cousins were happy to have it. That's how we grew up. We're so proud of it. I was like the queen chick. There's like 100 of us. There's like 100 grandkids. Because Irish Catholic people just fuck. Poor Irish Catholic people just have 100 kids. That's what they do. So it's 100 of us. But my grandpa Jack, he was a World War II veteran, and he only liked me. There was an old man bar down the street, and he would come with his peg leg, and he'd be like, Missy, let's go. And I was the favored one. I was 7. I was favored. I'd go down to the old man bar. He'd give me a Shirley Temple. All the other old men would be like, you're going to be a heartbreaker. Looking back, there were some serious fucking issues about what was happening with Grandpa Jack. If I'm being honest, I can't remember the ages of 7 to probably 10. But fuck it. Grandpa Jack was a good man. I'd fucking fight you to the death if anyone said anything different. Grandpa Jack gave me $2. I'm old at that time. I'd get you a lot of candy. I'd bring it back. Nobody was more loyal or better than my cousin Bobo. 2 years younger than me. Everything I did was great. That stayed the same way through our whole life. Bobo was the best type of person. Do you know what I mean? Bigger dude, chunky dude, thyroid issues. And, but gentle giant, you know? And he was so loyal. I could say anything and he'd just crack the fuck up. Do you have anybody in your life like that? You just say anything and they just fall the fuck out? Like it annoys everybody else in your life? They're like, you're not that fucking funny. But Bobo would just laugh. He was so shy. I was never shy. Can you tell? I was never shy. Even before the booze, I was never this shy. I was never shy. We'd go to like drive-through restaurants. Maybe I'm 17, he's 15. And I'd always do that annoying shit. You know, the girl would be like, okay, and I'd be like, all right. And I'd look at it like, my cousin wants to know who's single in the restaurant. And like, he would just be fucking dying. And I'd be like, Bob, calm down. I'd be like, he wants to know, like, because he wants to have sex tonight. And he would just be dying. We'd go to like, you know, like a grocery store. And I'd be like, all right, Bob, I'm going to ask, where do you keep the plus size pantyhose? Where do you keep those at? And he would just, but you know what? It was always embarrassing shit. And it was terrible. But he laughed. And he was always fun about it. Any bad breakup, any horrible thing, my cousin Bob was there for me, like laughing, cheering me on. You know what I mean? Good person. So my family moves out here to southern Indiana from Jersey about 15 years ago. Why? I have no fucking idea. Nobody knows why. It's a mystery, even to this day. This is like a bad animal farm, southern Indiana, right? So like when people in Jersey fuck up, they send us out here to southern Indiana. It's a weird thing. So I'm 19, I'm doing bad things, they send me out. Bob's 17, and he just embraces it. He's excited to see me, right? He's been living out here for a while from Jersey. We become the best of friends. We have all these friends together. We have a good time. We're about our mid-20s, and Bob starts acting weird. We called him Bobo. Bobo starts acting weird, you know, just off. Now he's doing a lot of fucking acid. He's partying a lot with these kids from Louisville. I'm like, all right, maybe he's just doing drugs. But it turns out that Bob, he's got schizophrenia. And he gets, at 25, he gets diagnosed with schizophrenia. And it's like, what? Like he's the most gentle, the best kid you ever met in your life. You know what I mean? But he was acting fucking weird. So he gets diagnosed with that. That's tough. We don't know how to deal with that, right? Most of my family has a 6th grade education. Like, what the fuck does that mean, schizophrenia? But that's what Bob's got now, right? So we're trying to deal with it. And at first, for the first few years, it's just, he's acting a little weird. He's, you know, he thinks, like my dad had died, and he thought my dad was John Bonham. Was it John Bonham? Jason Bonham? What's the drummer for, John Bonham. There it is. Thank you, artist, musician guy. John Bonham. My cousin thinks he sees my dead father as the dead drummer, John Bonham, all through Louisville. But it's harmless at first. You know what I mean? Like you're just dealing with it. It's cool. But then as the years go by, he starts getting more awkward, right? Like just weird shit. Like one time I took him to lunch, and he's like, Miss, I should have married you when I had the chance. It's my first cousin. We never bathed together. We weren't at that level. We weren't at that stage. I'm like, Bob, you can't say shit like that. But he was gone. He didn't know what was going on. I loved him to death. He was always there for us, but I didn't understand. You know what I mean? A couple years go by, and what started to happen with Baba was he was always there for everybody. He was the best kid ever. He had the biggest heart and the best sensibility. He did not give a fuck what you thought. Who in this room can say, honestly, that you don't care what someone thinks? Who can say it, right? Like, how comfortable are we with our own selves and our own intimacy, our own, like, you know, being who we really are? But Bob, like, he just loved you effortlessly. He didn't give a fuck. maybe that was the illness, right? But who's really ill? He just didn't care, you know? But as my family, we got older and we couldn't handle it. Because the one thing about people is that we can laugh with people and we can laugh at people. When people have real shit going on, we get uncomfortable, don't we? We can't like deal with that shit. We can't deal with each other's like pain or like real fucking hard stuff. So Bob got sicker and we got more distant. And this kid, man, he didn't deserve that shit. He was just the best kid ever. But he got real sick. He started getting like, he would disappear for like weeks. People would be like, oh, we saw your cousin down by the bridge. They had all these crazy fucking stories. And I'd be like, oh, man. And we tried to do what we could, but it was tough. So about a year ago, right, I'm this big fancy girl. I'm a comedian. I'm failing, but I'm pretending like I'm important. I'm not. And I start dating this dude. And he's kind of fancy. But I don't know how he will deal with Bob. So Bob's trying to reach out to me, right? Like he's trying to, hey, let's hang out. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how this guy's going to hang out. So even though I love my cousin, I don't make the connection to hang out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, he's going to say that weird shit. This guy's not going to fucking figure it out. And me, and my limited perspective of who I am and what life is, I think this dude is more important than my cousin Bob, who's got the biggest heart in the world and gets it more than sane people do. So, whatever, I put it off. No big deal, right? There's time. There's time to hang out. So in July, the end of July, me and this fancy dude are dating for about 8 months now. And he's a comedian. He's a headlining comedian. He asked me to go away with him. This is a big trip. I'm very excited. You know, this is going to be me, like, hanging out with this dude. Maybe I won't die alone. I'm real fucking excited. So we go to this trip. We're in Chicago. And we have this Friday night. It's amazing. Saturday morning, my sister calls. Now, I'm not thinking much. Like, the week before, my cousin Bob, he wrote me, and he said, hey, can we hang out? I was too busy, right? Being important, pretending I'm important, like we do. I was like, Bob, I'm going away next week, but when I get back. My sister calls me, and she says, hey, where you are? I said, I'm in Chicago. She says, well, Bob died. He had an embolism. He was 37 years old. An embolism in his chest. Best person I ever met in my fucking life. In that moment, I realized, me being too important, he was the best person I ever fucking knew. But I was too important, and he wasn't good enough for my bullshit. So now my fancy boyfriend's got to meet my fucking cousin in a box for the first time. This is the thing about meeting somebody in a box, is that you'll never know the size of their heart or their fucking spirit while they're sitting in a fucking box. You know what I'm saying? So I have to try to explain what a shit stain I am. Talking to this fucking guy that's not half the fucking kid that my fucking cousin was, sitting in a fucking box because I didn't think he was good enough. So it's funny. It's one of those moments in life where you go, we don't know anything. The people that are better than us scare us, so we judge them. My cousin was sick, but he was smarter than any fucking buddy I've ever met. He loved unconditionally, without fear. Who does that? How funny was I to not see him that week before because I thought I was too important. Now his big heart is in a fucking box. So I'd like to say that at this point, a year later, I've been humbled and I've learned, but I'm not that good because I'm not fucking Bob. That's my story. Thank you guys for listening. Growing up in a city environment, you play Manhunt. You guys know about Manhunt? That's a big thing in the city. No, you don't know about it? Manhunt, anybody? Right? Yeah. So you play Manhunt. So it's like a tag. It's like tag, right? So we would always do. So Bob was like, he was a bigger dude and he didn't like to run, right? So he would play until he was it. And every time Bob was it, he'd be like, that's it, I'm going and I'm tired. I'd be like, no, Bob, what the fuck? So I'm afraid of rides, right? But like any aggressive bully type of person, if we can find a weaker type person, we're gonna put that fear on them to make ourselves feel better. Am I right? Is that how bullying works? So I'm the bigger person, Bob. So when we would go to like fairs or like amusement parks, I had to act like a tough guy. So say the one time there was a ride, the Spider. I was 10, he was 8. I was terrified, but I couldn't act like I was terrified. So Bob is in line with me. I'm like, we're going on this thing, it's fine. Bob's like, you sure? I'm like, it's fine. I was fucking terrified. I didn't want to go on this fucking ride. I'm watching it loop around and go up in the fucking, I don't like the heights. It's scaring me. We get on the ride. The only thing that made me feel better was that I told Bob that I didn't think that the ride locked properly. So the whole time he's like, miss, I don't like this. I don't like this. Tell him to stop the ride. Because Bob was terrified, I was able to enjoy the ride. Thanks, Bob.
So one last thing that I wanted to share with you from Melissa's story. At the live shows of We Still Like You, where we tape all of the stories, we always have a live artist who sketches little scenes or drawings from the performer's story. So usually these are pretty silly, like either drawings or paintings of like some of the goofier aspects of the story. But this time, our live artist for the show was kind of stumped. See, it turns out he actually knew Bobo in real life.
So I was trying to get some ideas for the story, and I know Bob. Bob was. I go to the.
Oh my God! Yeah, you know Bob.
Oh my God!
Like, almost, I couldn't do anything funny about him. I just like wanted to give you that. I feel like that looks a lot like him.
Oh my God! So Jim Bob, you knew him. People knew who she's talking about. And so tell me what you drew.
It just looks like Bob. He's just.
It really does.
Good.
I just felt bad when you were telling me the story. Like, I felt like you needed something. I don't know.
Thanks, man.
One more time for everybody. We still like you.
That was the incredible, incomparable Melissa Doran. Up next, Marty thinks he might have screwed up being a dad. When it comes to celebrating for the holidays, one of the best parts is all the free home-cooked food that you don't necessarily have to home cook. Now, I actually really like cooking, but on the flip side, I can't stand baking. They just feel so opposite to me. Cooking, you get to stir and prod and watch and smell the whole process as it happens. With baking, you got to be really, really careful, measure everything out exactly, mix it up perfectly, put it in the oven, and wait. It's that waiting that's so hard. I think having a kid is kind of like the worst version of baking. You gotta wait 18 years to see whether you messed up terribly or not. For a long time, Marty felt like he messed up being a dad. He couldn't help but be disappointed with his son, and he couldn't help feeling like it was his fault. Until he finally got a chance to connect. From Louisville, here's Marty Pollio.
It would seem that if you were raised gently by kind, intelligent people who treated you with respect and gave you all the love and attention and affection and encouragement that a human could ever want, it seems like you would grow up to be a well-adjusted, happy adult, and even maybe self-motivated and an achiever. And if you are, then your parents are taking all the credit for that. That's what they do, especially if you're an achiever, and they're all over that. It's like, yeah, well, we made them that way. But what they fail to realize is that we pop out in the world wired a certain way, and that's just kind of the way it is. I mean, some people are wired to please others, and they end up wanting to please their parents, and they're kind of like trouble-free kids, and they grow up to be probably pretty happy. And other people are headstrong, and let's say if a boy pops out into the world and he's defiant, and he may grow up to be just a troublemaking prick, selfish and not really caring about what havoc he wreaks and what it does to other people. Anyway, I'm the parent of that kid. And the truth is, like, I talk about that all the time. Like, oh yeah, this predetermined personality that we have. But really, it's like I can't help but to believe that I'm responsible for it. It's like you just do. It's like I know I made mistakes, and I know about some of them, and I know there's probably a whole lot more that I don't know about. But yeah, so I feel responsible for this guy who has issues. I don't know, it starts out innocent enough. You have a new fresh baby and you get all excited and this whole emotional self opens up that's just so weird because it's this weird kind of animalistic love that you can't really compare to an amorous love that you have for somebody that's an adult partner. It's just different. And so then that's cool. And then you have this new baby and you go, yeah, I want him to be smart and athletic and creative and everything. And then you see these weird personality flaws when they get a little older and you think, well, it would be great if he ends up being a good person. If he doesn't kill me for the insurance money, I'm going to be so happy. But so, you think of these babies as these joyful little miniature humans. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of the wrong way to think. But I mean, it's not reality. It's like, have you ever seen an infant? Like, they're always red and sweaty, wearing their little flannel onesies, no matter what the weather is. And they're sweaty and they flail, like real jerky movements, and they can't do anything and they know it. Just miserable, living their little meatloaf existence. And then they get a little older and they start waddling around and jabbering and stuff, and it's kind of like having a talking dog. And then they become tweens and teens, and then they blossom forth into what really is like being a really brilliant chimp. I don't chart chimps. I know they can smoke and stuff like that, but if you can imagine having a chimp who could speak English and lie and cheat on tests and get, shoplift and stuff like that, it's a chimp you could be proud of, And sadly, that thought actually popped into my head one day where I went, well, I mean, just imagine if he was a chimp. I'd be on TV, It started like when he was 11, he started smoking weed, and we didn't know it, me and his mom, and his grades started dipping, and we always got him into these great schools. Like, we were the token poor family, and we always got him in on scholarship. It was like a highly reduced tuition. They kind of audition parents, too. You have to prove to them that your kid would be an asset to their school. And, he had some stuff going on. He was good at math, and he could play chess. He was a good chess player, and he was athletic and stuff. And so anyway, we got him in these great schools, and his grades start dipping. And it's like, then we had this talk where I go, hey, okay, look, what's with these C's and D's, okay? This has to be A's and B's, because we were on reduced tuition, for one thing. And it's like, you have to, kid, let's get it going, pal. Come on, just step it up. And so then he becomes a distraction in class, and then gets caught cheating a couple times, and he gets, suspended and all that. And then, it's like, okay, look, let's let the test scores fall where they may, but just do your homework. That's it, just do your homework. And so then he gets kicked out of collegiate, is where he was, and he gets kicked out. And so then he goes to public school. He went to Atherton, and then he started dabbing. I don't know if you know what that is, but he starts dabbing, and dabbing is like inhaling, which basically pure THC, and you do it with propane, and it's like really nasty and unhealthy. Anytime you're, to have a good time, you have to bring a tank of propane with you. It's like it's time to reevaluate your recreational habits, But anyway, yeah, and it made him like a zombie, and he lost interest in everything he was good at. He was just like a mess. And it was as if he was on narcotics. I mean, he had a drug problem at this point. Then he got caught smoking and drinking cough syrup at the same time, which can kill you. And then the talk was like, okay, look, don't die. All right? So then that's the way it is with a kid like that. Your bar keeps getting lower and lower and lower. And he just became so much trouble. And he would refuse to follow house rules, just the simplest things like, no drug dealing. It's like, it's not too much to ask, we didn't feel. And his mom kicked him out, and kids couldn't hang out with him because he was pulling them down into his morass. And so, it was pretty embarrassing. And then just more legal problems, and then we finally got him in rehab, got him in lockdown rehab. It just wiped us out money-wise. And then filed a out-of-control petition with the court. So now we weren't even his parents. The court was his parents. And too late. It's just too late. So then he gets kicked out of Atherton. And then he goes to an alternative high school, and he got kicked out of an alternative high school. So who gets kicked out of an alternative high school? There's violent felons in alternative high schools. They don't get kicked out. And so then he went back the next year, and he got kicked out again. And he ends up not graduating from high school with just a couple of credits left to go. And now he's an adult. He's 21. He still hasn't done anything about it. Yeah, my fear is like I'm gonna not forgive him, just resent him, because education meant so much to us, and we tried so hard to get him in the best situations, and so I still hang out with him and still like him and love him and all that, but just resent that he did that to us. And so now I'm trying to negotiate this adult relationship with him after putting me through all this hell. And he moved in with me, and it just made me physically ill dealing with him. And so I decided that we needed an excursion. We needed to do a little summer trip. And so we went to Nashville and we saw a concert. And I already knew this concert was so awesome. It was like unbelievable. It was like, even if it wasn't his kind of music, it was Roger Waters, it was Pink Floyd. And Pink Floyd music ages really well, and Roger Waters applies it to whatever politics are going on at the time. So it was like an anti-Trump bash. And it was a couple of days right after Charlottesville with the Nazis and all that. And it was just like, yeah, man, it just gave you that feeling. And the concert itself was like a art installation. The whole arena was like a video screen. And it was just awesome. And so I decided that I've never gotten high with him. I planned out this trip very carefully about, I made these little candy one-hitters that we would have, and we could hit it and then eat the evidence if we needed to, because you never know if a security guy is going to be around you and bother you. And so we did mushrooms, and this concert was like made for mushrooms. And so I wanted to get to this place where I felt like everything was cool, and I was going to see him in a different way. And we hung out, and I saw him sitting next to me, just floating along with that music, and I saw him as a soulful guy, and I always wondered, is this kid stupid? Like that was always like one of my thoughts about him. Like I always wondered that, and we hung out that night. We talked, and he said cool things, and he asked cool questions, and he's not stupid, and I did get that feeling like, yeah, he's gonna be okay. He's really a good guy. And I guess really, the moral of this story is that mushrooms are awesome. That's it. And if anybody could hook me up with some, that's kind of why I'm here. So that's it. Thanks.
Comedian Marty Pollio. And that does it for this episode of We Still Like You. If you enjoyed today's show, do us a favor and tell someone about it. You'll never know how much it actually helps. If you really want to do us a solid, sign up to support the show on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/We Still Like You. A couple of bucks a month will keep the roof over our heads and get you something cool. If you want to tell a story at one of our live shows, check out the submission page. You can find that at WeStillLikeYou.com. We're on Facebook at We Still Like You. We tweet at We Still Like You. I'm Jesse Batend, and as always, thanks for being your terrible selves.
Perfect.